Good evening, everybody. We're just going to kick off without the dude to begin with, and hopefully he will be joining us very shortly. He's been rushing around like a mad thing, so we'll get going with Erekose as soon as he's able to join us. A couple of things I wanted to point out anyway. The first one being that starting to get a little bit more, hi everybody, a little bit more organized with YouTube. So I've actually put together on my channel a playlist of the videos that I've done so far on the article by Richard Leo, Steve Drizin. The articles are all to do with the false confessions in the post-DNA world. It's quite a lengthy article. I'm up to part 4 of, I believe there's 7 or 8 parts to it, but I've had to spread them into maybe a couple of videos at a time in order to go through them. They're a bit heavy going at times as well, I must admit. Some of the terminology, some of the words, even I've had to look them up and think, what on earth is that? But anyway, as I say, I've made up a playlist, so if you need to go and check them out, at least you can find them all in the playlist of Drizin and Leo. Okay, and I'll probably do the same because I did so many videos with Ken Kratz Sexton career. I'll probably do the same with them, and I'll probably put all my music videos into a separate playlist, so just so that it makes it a bit easier for people to come on and navigate. I couldn't believe that I'm up to about 540 videos now, so they maybe need a little bit organization going on. I've had a couple of interesting messages this week. One in particular that's hopefully going to lead to doing at least a video about, possibly more, from a Redditor that's got some interesting things to say about the search dog Loof and his conclusions from what Loof was up to. Our friend Andrew is going from strength to strength on his channel, and noticed he did a live chat earlier today, which was good. He got in touch with me and said, how does this StreamYard things work? And hopefully I was able to point him in the right direction, and he was able to get sorted with that. The other interesting thing, I say that for me, there's a lot of parallels between the obviously Making a Murderer and the Luke Mitchell case, Jody Jones Luke Mitchell case. As a lot of you know, we recently had, back on, what date was it, the 12th of December, we had our elections here in the UK. And actually sent an email to the new MP for that area of Scotland, the Midlothian. I sent her. This was just 5 days after he was voted MP. Well, it would have been the day after, so 4 days after he became MP. I sent an email to Owen Thompson, the MP, Member of Parliament for Midlothian, and I'll read out what I wrote so that we can then have a look at his reply, which just goes to show, if you get in touch with these politicians, you never know, you might get a reply back. I wrote to Dear Owen, as a keen supporter of truth and justice for Teresa Holbach, Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey, in brackets, as featured in the Netflix documentary Making a Murderer, close brackets. I have always been proud to point out to my many American friends that, quote, that could never happen here in Scotland. Unfortunately, it was pointed out to me a couple of months back that Luke Mitchell has almost certainly been wrongfully convicted for the murder of his girlfriend, Jodie Jones, in East Houses on June the 30th, 2003. He certainly was not found guilty beyond all reasonable doubt, as recent developments have shown. Both he and his mother passed polygraph tests. Experts are questioning why no blood spatter was found on Luke. It is hoped that in the future, once Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey are freed, that Wisconsin will follow the example of other US states by introducing conviction integrity units. I would suggest that we need something similar here in Scotland. I appreciate that Luke Mitchell was prosecuted and subsequently convicted by public opinion. His case is therefore not popular. But whoever killed Jodie Jones is not paying for their crime. Any help, thoughts, and comments would be gratefully received. And Owen Thompson wrote back to me. Dear Mr. Capaldi, thank you for your email dated the 17th of December 2019, highlighting this important issue. Please accept this email as an acknowledgement and my apologies for not replying to you sooner. This was due to a delay in the setup of my parliamentary system due to the festive period. Well, that's obviously fair enough. I wasn't expecting a reply straight away. I understand that you have been looking at the American system of justice and their plans of introducing conviction integrity units to investigate and eliminate the possibility of people being wrongfully convicted at criminal trials. It is indeed a very interesting point. However, as justice is a matter devolved to the Scottish Parliament, I may be limited somewhat in my capacity as MP in the representations I can make, but would be more than happy to raise the issue with the Scottish Justice Secretary, Hamza Yousaf, MSP, on your behalf, should you so wish. Well, I'll certainly be getting back to Owen and saying, yes, please, whatever noises you can make would be gratefully appreciated. If you would like me to contact the Scottish Parliament, could you kindly send me confirmation of your address, including postcode, to allow me to proceed? I may not be granted a response, but I am happy to raise the issue. For your interest, Scotland currently has an appeal system through the Scottish Criminal Cases Review Commission, which accepts applications of miscarriages of justice through their website. More information about this can be found here at the email address that he sent me. I hope that this is useful to you, and I thank you again for taking the time to write. Yours sincerely, Owen Thompson, MP for Midlothian. And so, yes, obviously, Scotland legal system slightly different to the rest of the UK. So I'll need to get in touch with this Hamza Yousaf, MSP, because he is the Scottish Justice Secretary. But, of course, with Owen Thompson being in Scotland, he's also going to get in touch. I'll write back and say, yes, please, as I say, make as much noise as we possibly can in order to highlight the case. So it just goes to show, if you write to these people and explain what it is you're writing to them about, they certainly read and take note of what you've written to them. Because, for one thing, correspondence from constituents is really is of great interest to them, because it was ordinary people that put them there in the first place, and ordinary people can put somebody else there in their place. So they do have a keenness to read everything that's sent to them. Particularly if it's not not offensive, spell something out in a reasonable manner. So yes, I was very pleased, as I say, that I got that response from Owen, and hope to obviously take that matter further with the Scottish Department of Justice. Now, I did notice somewhere in the chat there that Erekose was saying that he was just having himself some tea. So, although I wouldn't want to read a whole chapter of a book, I did find certain paragraphs out of Mike Griesbach's book. Sorry, I've only read one of his books. I was given this. I did not go out and buy it. I was given it by my daughter. So, anyway, here goes. Jerry Buting turned the state's presentation of the physical evidence upside down by suggesting in one blistering cross-examination after another that the evidence was planted. Playing the bad cop, he attacked the investigating officers for what he perceived as their lack of caution in following procedure. He questioned how 4 Calumet County deputies failed to find a bullet fragment containing Teresa Halbach's DNA that a Manitou County detective allegedly discovered a few months later in Avery's garage, terming it the magic bullet. Isn't that interesting how he's used the word that a Manitou County detective allegedly discovered? It's not allegedly discovered, Michael Griesbach. It's a fact. They discovered the magic bullet months later. Did you see a bullet on November the 6th? He asked one of the officers from Calumet County, who swiftly responded in the negative. So let's just go through that. You've got four officers searching back on November the 6th. They didn't find the bullet fragment there. Jerry carries on. Because if you had, you would have collected it, right? Buting asked rhetorically. Because it would have been an extremely important piece of evidence, right? There were 4 of you in that garage, and not one of you found a bullet or a bullet fragment. Correct, the officer replied sheepishly. And Buting pulled no punches when he challenged how Teresa's car keys ended up in Avery's bedroom, all but accusing Colburn and Lenk of planting them there. It turns out the bedroom was searched 6 times, not just 3, like I had thought, before the 2 Manitou County officers found the keys in plain sight, according to Buting. Kratz tried to soften the blow by suggesting the keys weren't discovered earlier because the initial searches of the expansive buildings on the Avery property, including Steve's trailer, were cursory sweeps and not detailed examinations. But the explanation rang hollow to many. He also called a Calumet County deputy who was in the bedroom with Lincoln Colburn for at least part of the time. Based upon your positioning a couple feet away from that key, did you believe that either Lenk or Colburn had an opportunity out of your eyesight to place, or what's called plant, that key there? Kratz asked. No, they did not, the officer replied. But on cross-examination, Buting beat up on him, and he had to retreat from his statement that Lenk and Colburn could not have planted the keys. By the next paragraph, my actual observations, the deputy testified, I would have to say that it could be possible, as I was doing other things. I was taking photographs, I was searching the nightstand. I find that quite interesting, as I say, that I find that very, very interesting reading through that. Apparently the book was written in 2013, so this was before Making a Murderer came out. Did they know that Making a Murderer was on its way out? I don't think so. But it beggars belief that he refers to Lenk and Colburn as being the most honest, two of the most honest cops he's ever come across. And of course, it's him that's representing Colburn. He's one of the MPs representing Colburn in this this suit against Netflix. It does beg a belief when he's written that and made it. That I don't think it's very ambiguous. I think it's quite clear from what he's written there that he accepts the fact that that bullet and that key were planted. He makes no attempt to try and explain or apologize. Very, very, very interesting and annoying, obviously. Another thing I came across this week, which I found particularly interesting. I suppose everything I find is of interest, otherwise I wouldn't be mentioning it. But this was a let's see if I can find it. It'll be here somewhere. 2 seconds. Yeah, there we go. This is a quote by this guy, Seth Waxman. He's obviously the guy that we hear in Making a Murder, second series, to do with, obviously he was the guy, Seth Waxman, who was the 41st Solicitor General of the US. And he was prepared to go and argue on Brendan's behalf with the Supreme Court. I know Travis is not going to agree when I say this, but obviously the reason being was that he was going to hopefully do a better job than Steve or Laura. But that's just the fact that he's got experience of this. Andrew, the dude is busy eating his tea. You must appreciate that on Crunch Island, they don't have digital technology that allows clocks and watches to, to follow normal times. It's more like a sundial that the dude uses. So anyway, it was going to be 1 o'clock my time. He then said, could you make it 20, 25 minutes later? And, well, you can figure out the rest. But I think we might catch up with him sometime soon. Anyway, I'm going to carry on and read this quote, by Seth Waxman. As I say, he's the 41st Solicitor General of the US. He wrote, "I have never had a case that has troubled me more than Brendan Dassey's case. That has kept me awake at night, that makes me anxious and sad. And that is because I know that Brendan Dassey is innocent. And I know that no judge, not the state trial judge," so we're talking about Judge Jerome Fox, "not the state court of appeals judges." Well, of course, that was his first appeal would have been to Judge Fox, and then to the rest of the Wisconsin Supreme Court that never heard his case. So yeah, and I know that no judge, not the state trial judge, not the state court of appeals judges, not the federal district judge, well, we know that, obviously Duffin, not any of the judges on the Seventh Circuit, including the 4 judges sitting en banc who denied his petition. Not a single justice sitting on the Supreme Court thinks otherwise. Seth Waxman is telling us that every single judge that's been involved in this case, and obviously the ones that didn't see it, even the Supreme Court, they know that Brendan Dassey is innocent. As I say, he wrote, "And that is because I know that Brendan Dassey is innocent, and I know that no judge thinks otherwise." I think that just beggars belief, and it makes you ask, well, what the hell's wrong with the system? This sort of sometimes this nicey, friendly, softly approach makes you wonder what is it doing? Is it getting us anywhere? When you've got people like Seth Waxman saying that, and of course, I have no reason to think that Seth Waxman has said that because he doesn't believe it. I'm sure that he's genuine in what he said, and so then it sort of raises the question: how does he know that all those judges are of that opinion? Well, I would suggest that this idea that the judges they don't watch TV and they don't they don't have an opinion on stuff like making a murderer. I think quite the opposite is true. I think it tends to show that yes, they are very much, they keep themselves up to date with what's going on. Has he gone round? Has he phoned all his the judges in the Supreme Court and asked for their opinion as to whether they think Brendan is innocent or not? Has he spoke with all the judges? So what is it that's keeping Brendan in? If all the judges think he's innocent, what is the sticking point? What's the problem with all of this? Excuse me. One of the things that I did that I have found interesting, reading the article by Drizin and Leo, is the fact that they go into great detail about the fact that their article is looking at 125 proven cases, absolutely no doubt that the people were innocent when they gave these false confessions. But then, how many others out there how many other people are there in prison that have been found guilty based on a false confession? Confronted with the problem of you've got investigators that claim that they've got evidence to show that you're guilty. They, in the case of Brendan, they told him that basically, we think you're okay, but Stephen is telling us that you're completely to blame, which of course is complete nonsense. He's never blamed Brendan for having done anything, obviously, because nothing was done. Yes, he probably, I would say, judging by what I know about some of the phone calls, yeah, he probably at times he blew off a bit about the fact that, what on earth is happening with Brendan. Why would he be coming out with the stuff that he was coming out with? I'm sure it would have completely boggled Stephen's mind as to why is he coming out with this stuff now? We don't know. So anyway, one of the photographs I saw, another one I saw this week was, and this is quite bad. It's the Wisconsin Association of Homicide Investigators, and it's a picture. I'm not gonna show it here on the screen because it's probably too obscene to see. We'll click on a little button here though, because here's somebody that you might want to see.
Hello.
Uru, as they say in Oz. Uru.
Iron Brew? I don't have any Iron Brew. Sorry.
You don't have any?
I said Iron Brew. I don't have any Iron Brew. Anyways, never mind.
I didn't say Iron Brew.
I know you didn't. I was making a joke. Anyways, never mind.
Sorry. I was like, whoosh.
I think, it obviously wasn't a very good joke. So, all right.
I've got, what have I got? I've got Fusty Ferret. And I bought two of these by mistake yesterday, and I've already given one away.
Ah! How do you buy Dr. Pepper by mistake?
Yes, I know.
Well, then again, how do you drink somebody else's Dr. Pepper by mistake when you got 5 Pepsi Maxes sitting right next to it? So, hey, you know what? Fair. That's fair. That's Paul.
Anyway, good evening. How are you doing?
How's it going, buddy?
Not bad. I was just explaining to somebody that I've got this very obscene photograph here of the Wisconsin Association of Homicide Investigators, and it's an award, and it's to the Prosecutor of the Year award, or the award is Prosecutor of the Year award, given to Ken Kratz, Calumet County District Attorney, for exemplary performance in the prosecution of the Teresa Halbach homicide, dated April the 24th, 2008.
Yeah, exemplary of how not to run a investigation. That's what it's exemplary of.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that I was trying to find out from the website, when he handed the award back, because one wouldn't have thought that the Wisconsin Association of Homicide Investigators would want a disgraced person like Ken Kratz on their honors board, because when you go on the website and you go to awards, there's like pages and pages and pages of awards for these guys.
Right.
Anyway, that was as I say, that was the Prosecutor of the Year award for 2008, because of course 2007 was when Steve's trial was. So
Right.
So yeah, okay. So they decided to give it in 2008. Another award they gave in 2008 was the Michael Vendeler Death Investigator of the Year award. Now, Michael Vendeler Death, that must have been a case going back a while, because this award was presented every year from, sort of the late 1990s all the way through. And the award for 2008 went to Sheriff Jerry Pargle, or Pagel. I don't know how the correct pronunciation for him, Pargle or Pagel.
Yeah.
And of course, we know perfectly well that the Meritorious Service Award, well, we heard about it going to Tom Fassbender and Mark Wiegert, but it wasn't just them that got their award.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Right.
Do you know some of the other names on that award list? Were
Andy Colburn?
Nope.
No. Oh.
Ken Kratz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark Roher and Mike Griesbach.
For covering Andy's ass. There you go. All right. Well, there you go. He was involved somehow.
But hold on. This is again because of the Teresa Halbach investigation.
Yeah.
But we've got
I don't know why Michael Griesbach would be involved in the Teresa Halbach investigation at all. Well, at least Rohrer was still. Yeah, but still, they weren't involved. I mean, that's the whole reason Ken Kratz was brought in. So it does seem silly that they got. I mean, but they give these awards out like freaking, like Bazooka Joes, like little pieces of candy or something. It's like the way they give these damn awards out. I mean, they seem to have they almost have no meaning, because they hand them out just so willy nilly, I mean, think about what happened over in Nina at Eagle Nation Cycles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After that fiasco, after that freaking train wreck, which even if we were to say, oh, they made an honest mistake, even if we were to say that, I'm not so sure it was an honest mistake, but let's just say it was. You still chalked up a loss for the day there. You know what I mean? For law enforcement. You killed a hostage. Whether you meant to or not, you killed a hostage. So why do you get an award? It's like, it reminds me when I was in Little League. My first year of playing Little League baseball, I played for AYSO. And our team, the Reds, we were good. We kicked we won every game. We were really good, and we played hard, and we practiced, and we got first place and everything. And I remember going to the awards banquet, and all the teams that didn't come in last got ribbons, and the team that came in last got trophies. And that seems like a similar situation with what they do with these medals. It's like they hand them out to the losers to make them feel better or something. I don't know, but that's what I mean by these award medals they hand out. They devalue them themselves by handing them out like candy, in my opinion.
Well, okay.
But
so they tend to give them to people that are, if for want of a better word, are on their side.
I'm sorry, Sid.
The fact that it's the Wisconsin Association of Homicide Investigators, it's law enforcement giving awards to other members of law enforcement.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's fine. I mean, that's whatever. I mean, but look at who they're giving it to. It's like I said.
Yeah.
Why are you giving Ken? Ken Kratz, whatever. At the time he wasn't disgraced yet, so whatever. I could see him being there. But why Griesbach and Rohr? These two had nothing to do with it. And, it's just
they
like
removed themselves because of the conflict of interest.
Yeah. It's funny how that conflict of interest applies and doesn't apply and applies and doesn't apply.
It only applies to coroners. But also, if you remember, there was one other name on that list, and it was a Miss Julie Laverns of Calumet County.
Yeah.
And can you remember who she was? Who you just recently did a video with a lady?
Advocate for children's rights.
Yeah.
Okay, so is this the lady that sent the discovery discovery over to Dean Strang? Is that where you got her name? Is off that letterhead?
She's just on the letterhead because she is the witness protection coordinator, crime victims witness coordinator person.
Yeah,
basically she's the one that runs the court, so that when they had the hearings in Calumet County, she was the one that would put some people some side, some people the other. She's actually included in this award.
Yeah,
which makes me kind of suspicious of. I wonder if it was a case of she was the one that was given the task of explaining to the Holbachs what needs to happen here.
Well,
it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Anyway, moving on. In 2011, they gave a Distinguished Service Award for many, many years of service to Tom Fassbender. That was in 2011.
Yeah.
That's long after. But in fairness to them, in 2014, they gave an award to somebody who we think quite highly of.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just give you Ken Kratz. Let me just give you Ken Kratz's opinion of this person first, though.
Oh, Jerry?
Not Jerry, no.
Not Jerry? Oh, okay.
Not Jerry, no. Good guess. Good guess. As you know, I wrote to Ken Kratz and pointed out that one of my favorite John Verac articles is the one of the no photographs.
Right.
And in his very first, I'll read the whole reply, because this led to this. Remember the ongoing, if you could ask Ken Kratz one question, what would it be? Okay, so this is actually the full thing that he sent me. He wrote, "I'm sorry to tell you that John Verac is not a real journalist. He was dispatched from the Appleton Post-Crescent and wrote, with Miss Zeller, the most untruthful pile of garbage I've ever read, including attacking the character of the deceased rape and murder victim to advance some shams agenda. It's despicable. I fear you are suffering from confirmation bias and only will consider versions which support your strongly held belief in this sexual sadist's release. If you have a legitimate question, however, I will try to answer. So ask away. You get one question." Well, he's never yet answered that question. The one I asked him, which was quite simply that if with the computer, with all the thousands of images of horrible stuff on the computer, with it being Brendan's computer, and with you trying to prosecute Brendan for this attack, why did you not use the stuff on the computer that was Brendan's computer as evidence against him?
Exactly. I mean, it just shows that they were trying to keep that under wraps.
Yeah. It's a legitimate question.
They know if they'd have used that at Brendan's trial, that would have been the first thing used in next appeal by Stephen Avery. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
But do you know who they gave a public service award in 2014 to? John Verac.
Oh, yeah?
Oh. Yeah. They gave it to John Verac of Gannett, Wisconsin, Media Investigative Team. So here's Ken Kratz saying, "I'm sorry to tell you, John Verac is not a real journalist."
Yeah. Well, that's Ken Kratz. I mean, listen to the way he always does that. Listen how he always tries to tell people that they're suffering from confirmation bias, and he's putting people in a box. I am pretty certain, I am reasonably certain that he is actually guilty of the confirmation bias himself. And I think maybe he knows it and he tries to assuage it by accusing the truthers that he runs into of it. But I think, because here, let me put it this way. He accused John Farrak getting together with Zellner and writing the most untruthful pile of crap or whatever, however he worded it. Well, I can say the same thing about reading the prosecution's case, Ken. So, you know what I mean? You're not making a very fine distinction there, because what you put up was a bunch of crap too. So, if you're going to claim it's crap, be specific. Point out why it's crap, because then we're going to show you, because you're going to then have to back up your crap, and then we're going to then go ahead and find the documents and everything to discredit what you just said, and it would go back and forth, and you know how it would go, and you don't want it to go there. That's basically why Ken Kratz doesn't want to engage. You know, he can't compete with 1,000 people that are going through these documents and have been now for a couple of years. He can't compete with that. You know what I mean? He doesn't have a team of interns to help him research cases anymore. And he doesn't remember every single little detail of the Avery case from, 15 years ago. Okay. It's not going to all be there. A lot of it will be, of course. He'll remember a lot of it, I'm sure. But there's going to be things that he won't remember, some small things. And it's those small things where we, as being in the know, can kill him. And so that's why he tries not to make comments. I mean, look at when he recently said, I never said sweat DNA. Oh, my Lord. It's like, that's the kind of things that he says. And so he knows that when he says something, that it will get picked apart. And so I think he's reluctant in a lot of ways. So that's why Paul didn't get his question. And that's why, you know what I mean? So.
Well, no. To be honest, dude, I wasn't expecting an answer from him. It was really just a case of he would come back with his response, which had nothing at all to do with the question that I'd asked. His main line was always, why are you quite happy to go with these other books and not mine?
Right. Well,
that's all he was interested in was just try and promote the sale of his book.
In terms of what he's saying there, I actually believe in considering things from all sides, and I've actually started listening to Ken Kratz's book, and I will finish. I'll get through it eventually, but I'll tell you, going through it, it's nothing. He's not offering anything really serious. Yeah. He's just kind of re-uttering the same kind of ideology that he has been for years. Yeah. And it's not, there's nothing really substantial so far. Maybe there's something in there at some point, but so far, him talking about Wiegert's looking smart with his goatee and whatever, like it's creative writing hour, that was just weird. I mean, reading some of the stuff is just weird. I don't know. Anyway, I agree. I consider things from as many sides as possible. So in that sense, I can kind of agree with Ken. But then again, Ken, it's you, and people don't like you. So,
maybe Mark Wiegert's got a nice pair of red high heels that he puts on for in various times. What I did was, obviously, when his book came out, I thought, well, there's no way I'm going to buy his book, because I can just go onto Amazon and I can do reviews. I can look at the reviews that Amazon have done. And I looked at loads of different reviews. In fact, one of the reviews that I found, and I actually read out, was by D.B. Cooper, who is somebody that contributes many good comments to the to not just your videos. I'm sure you've come across that name before. Yeah. So he's his was one of the items that I read out, And basically, all the reviews were saying was that a lot of them are saying the same stuff. That what he's got is he's got these half a dozen notions in his mind that he can try and sell, and what he does is he likes to present it again and again and again and again with these little slants on it, doesn't he? You know?
Yeah. Basically, like you could probably trace it all back to his original email back in December of 2015.
You can,
the press. You know,
that's right, because you did a series about that.
Yeah, and there was one video in that series. It was the Texas Tech, the Texas Tech law panel and everything. And there was one segment of it where one of the law professors just like did a zoom in on Ken Kratz and his behavior, his actions and everything. So he got real into what went down. How come the media was saying all these things, specific things? He goes, well, here's where that came from. He takes us all then back to Ken Kratz's email, and he shows us how all of these points were all laid out originally by Ken Kratz, and he just fired this thing off at all the media outlets, and a lot of them have basically just run with it without questioning it and that sort of thing. So,
and it was specifically, it was just after Making a Murderer came out, when he was on his sort of crusade to try and discredit Making a Murderer. I mean, it didn't get off to the best of starts, did it? When you had people like, who was the governor? Was it Scott Walker?
Yeah, Scooter.
They asked him about Making a Murderer, and was it him? I'm sure it was him that had said, it's completely biased and it's inaccurate, and he'd never watched it,
right?
But just as Herman had never actually watched it. I'm trying to find. Bear with me. I had a comment sent to me by Mr. Cooper. Just a wee while ago. Nah, it'll be here somewhere. But where? Oh, I'll keep looking. Basically, it was about the fact that I could really do with finding that particular.
Yeah, all right.
Particular one. Oh, sorry.
You found it?
No.
Oh.
No, and I'm not going to attempt to paraphrase, so I'll save that one for another time. What I was going to say was that I'm still waiting on YouTube closing me down for my videos about Tess. I'm still waiting on the lawyers to get in touch. As I say, I won't be holding my breath on that one, but
I don't need a team of lawyers to tell me that if you use the name as your YouTube name, then it's not exactly private information. So, using that name in the video, I mean, I don't need a team of lawyers to tell me you ain't got a case. So, I mean, anyway.
it just seemed a bit bizarre, the sort of lengths that she was going to. It struck me that is this somebody, because she said I've got the law on my side, who is somehow connected to law enforcement?
Could be, very well could be.
That's what I wondered. Yep.
I mean, that's certainly plausible and likely, I would think. But not necessarily a given. Maybe could be, could just be some random, person, some random person out there that just, has something against, Stephen and or Brendan or whatever, and they just feel strongly about it. I mean, who knows?
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. I don't know if you caught what I was saying earlier on about the fact that the Redditor that got in touch with me has sent another email. So we must try and do something with that. With what
I had to give him my email today because because he wants to correspond with me through email. He's gonna find out how sucky that is. I just don't get to check my email nearly as much as the place where he was messaging me. So anyway,
yeah, yeah. No, that's fine. I did get that as well. So that's good.
No worries.
Yeah,
So, yeah, we'll see what's going on there, and
yeah. I'm annoyed that I can't find this comment because it was a brilliant line.
I was gonna say something. You brought up that lady earlier. What's her name? And she was the victim and child.
Oh yes,
advocate.
Julie Laverne's.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting because what her title was. I mean, I still been meaning to look into this because ever since I did that video with Zelma and Jared, Zelma and Jared, that I've been wondering about the youth advocacy agencies that were there in Wisconsin in 2005, 2005, basically and on, and why didn't they get involved? You know what I mean? If Brendan was coming in for an interview, then why weren't they involved? I mean, that's and so that's an interesting question she raised. And so I've been meaning to look into that to see what Wisconsin had at the time. What kind of, youth advocacy programs or, things like that did they have going on to help facilitate, more reliable contact between law enforcement and victims and especially kids. So.
Yeah, the other thing I found quite interesting was the when they on the 3rd of November police actually put out it was information amongst the whole of the police. It was a global report that Teresa Holbach had been murdered by Stephen Avery. That was on the 3rd.
Right. Yes, right.
Where would they have got that from? Well,
I mean, they're also logging the RAV4 as impounded on the 3rd.
Mm-hmm. They didn't find it till the 5th.
Well, officially.
Do they have a time machine?
But yet we have this document that's generated that says the 3rd. So obviously the official story is the 5th, but if we have the RAV4 getting logged in on the 3rd as impounded, then maybe they were looking at the blood in there. And maybe they saw the cargo area and just said, "Oh, okay, well somebody killed her, so Stephen did it." And then they filed that. I mean, they must have, because there you have it. Both of those things. The RAV4 impounded on the 3rd and Stephen Avery being reported to, I believe it's the FBI as a murder suspect. I think it's the FBI they're reporting it to somewhere, some federal agency, I guess. And so why are you doing that on the 3rd? When you don't even find any bones until the 8th. So yeah, it's just bizarre.
It is. I know this is a bit of a stab in the dark. Do you think that, in effect, the state or Calumet or Manitou Sheriff's Department or some people involved in the investigation know who really did kill Teresa?
I don't know. I suppose it's a possibility they do, and I suppose it's a possibility they don't.
It's just that would simply the threat of looking into, for example, Ryan Hillegas, would that be enough to make him agree to be complicit in the planting of the RAV? Because clearly that seems to be the case, doesn't it? That Ryan must have been inside the RAV, because how else did he get hold of the planner?
Right. the day, the page
Yeah.
of the day planner, right?
Yeah. So in order to get him to agree to do whatever they wanted to do, would it just be a case of, um, you know, if you don't want us to investigate you, then you need to help us on this.
It could have been something like that, because he should have been the likely suspect. He should have been, one of the obvious suspects. So maybe they did talk turkey with him, and and said, hey, look, we won't even look into you, but we need to get this guy nailed.
Hmm.
That's a possibility. I think something dodgy about Ryan. He seems to know something, and
Yeah.
he's desperate to hide whatever it was.
Yeah. I mean, clearly, am I right in thinking that it must have gone on something like this, that they said to him, you've got to help us, to put this car on the salvage yard. We'll come along with you. And he's realised that there's this log, this Teresa's log, that they maybe didn't want anybody to see. But then if you don't want anybody to see, I suppose you could have just burnt it or something, But
yeah,
I find it strange trying to come up with scenarios whereby Ryan ends up with this day planner, which then somebody else tells police, well, by the way, Ryan's got a day planner.
I thought he gave it to one of Teresa's friends, and then one of those friends came and brought it into the sheriff's department. I believe that's how I heard that went. Anyway, or that's what I heard before about how that went. So
yeah, it's strange. Another thing I noticed, I was listening to one of the other that was the foul play video earlier, live chat, and somebody was saying that they're pretty convinced that the harassing phone calls to Teresa were from Bradley Check. But I would have thought that Ryan was just as a likely candidate for that.
I think it could have easily been Ryan too, because there's just weird things with Ryan. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Ryan's senior yearbook picture, or actually it was something out of the senior yearbook, where the yearbook committee had gone around asking questions, right? And so they had this one question of what would be your motto, or something like that, something like memorable words or whatever.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then from Ryan Hillegas, you got something basically along the lines of don't trust a woman if this and that and whatever. Like, apparently he was jaded.
Yeah.
Like he had some, he was raw about some dealing with a woman. You could tell it was like the way that he gave this comment for the yearbook, and it was just like, whoa, damn.
Yeah, I mean the thing about Bradley Check, of course, that's interesting was that it caused him to split up with his wife, didn't it?
Well,
and was there also one gig where
you got to imagine they might have been in trouble in the first place, and maybe that's why they were going to the boudoir pictures, because they were trying to spice it up and reliven things. So it might have been that it was kind of breaking down already, but so that's a possibility. I'm not saying that's what happened, but you could consider that a possibility anyway.
No, there was something about he was. I remember there was something about Ryan Hillegas was going to be at a wedding, and she decided that she was not going to go along and do the photographs. But there was also a situation where she was at a wedding where he was doing like the DJ thing, and there something about the fact that she didn't want to be there with him,
Right. Oh, she clearly had, she was clearly. It seems to me there's some evidence to show that she was like feeling a bit stalked by Ryan.
Yes.
So this is all disturbing behavior, because I don't believe Stephen Avery cared that much about Teresa that he wanted to kill her. Okay, but it would make a lot more sense if maybe Brad or Ryan did. Then it would make more sense.
Yeah. I mean, this whole business of the luring Teresa to the salvage yard. It's just a ludicrous line, because how many times had she been out there? 15 times. So yeah, Steve, they asked. I'd like to know who it was that asked Steve to make the phone call on behalf of Barbara to sell the van.
I'd say that one more time.
I'd like to know who it was that asked Steve to make the phone call to Auto Trader with regard to selling the van.
I don't think anybody told him. I think he did it. He just did it because
they were looking to sell it, and he just took it upon himself.
Yeah, he just kind of. Yeah, I guess he's just that way. He's just like, get it done, get her done.
Because he was the guy that for the previous year, he'd been the one that had phoned Auto Trader and booked them to come along. So, after 13, 14 visits, he would be pretty used to Teresa turning up.
Right.
And he'd already got her phone number in any case, so that he could just phone her up.
He could have just phoned her directly. That's just it. I mean, he had her personal phone number. So you got to wonder, why then wouldn't he have just called her if he had this whole plan of killing her and, all these things? Why not call her instead of going through Auto Trader and creating all that paper trail and all that sort of stuff if you're going to kill her? I mean, in terms of the way a killer really would have done it, if you had her number, you would have done it that way. You wouldn't have called Auto Trader. That's why none of this makes sense. It doesn't make sense that Stephen was doing this. It makes more sense that somebody emotionally attached to her, who was harassing her by phone, or at least somebody was. She may have, and that's just the thing. You got two guys close to Teresa that are jaded. Okay, not just one guy. You got Ryan, who's pining away, and you got Brad, who clearly after the breakup with his wife was thinking he, still liking Teresa or whatever. So that's pretty wild. You got two guys that interested in her, and that none of it gets looked at, So it's just wild.
It is. Oh well. Anyway,
Ryan Hilligas said, "What scares you the most? Women because they are." What scares you the most are women because they are evil. That's what I was talking about, where he made that comment like he was very, very jaded, obviously, in that yearbook comment. So
wait till you get to my age.
Yeah. Yeah, but you don't get to voice it in the yearbook. So anyway.
We're babysitting for one of our friends' dogs, and I don't even know if when we finished here if I'm going to have to sleep in the bloody spare room, because this dog is massive, and you just can't get him shifted.
That's funny. Did you have Eunice listen to the voice message I sent you the other day after she accused me of havering?
Both.
Huh?
Yeah. Both.
She did? Yeah. What'd she say?
Not a lot.
Yeah. All right, then, fine.
Yeah, you're trying to work on your Scottish. Keep working on it. You'll get there.
Hey, dude.
Listen, it is now 2:20, and I really must.
Okay. Well, in that case, then we got to go back to your original topic about the MP that you emailed and everything there. That was interesting about the conviction integrity. I'm actually impressed the fact that he answered, and he had actually, and it was a meaningful answer. It was a very meaningful answer. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
that was really good. And I mean, I understand exactly what he means by like I'm happy to floor it, you know, or I'm happy to bring it to their attention, but can't guarantee anything will happen. But you know, conviction integrity units aren't exactly like insane things. They aren't like some insane thing that crazy people talk about. And conviction integrity units are things that make a lot of sense. So let's hope, you know, that and we'll be glad that guy didn't answer you like Winston or something. No, anyway.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, no, it was good. No, I mean it's one of the other things that I remember I did that thing where I wrote to replied to one of Charles Darwin's comments. I asked him the question, you know, what sort of pressure are prosecutors under? You know, is it a you know, are prosecutors under a lot of pressure to secure convictions? And that led to reading about you know, why are there so many of these wrongful convictions? Quite a lot of them will involve a false confession when they're proven. Yeah. And to have a look at it, the sort of background behind what's happening. How is it that people are being wrongfully convicted so often? Certainly, the big problem is the fact that once you, as he says quite clearly, once Steve says, you know, and because of the way the system works, was it him or was it Dean Strand? To be accused is to lose.
Right, I think it was Dean.
Dean, yeah. You know,
Dean.
As soon as you get accused, you've basically lost.
Right.
You've got the chances of getting justice is very, very slim. Hopefully, you know, that in the future, this case, because it's, for me, this isn't just a case of tunnel vision, and it was just mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, are you thinking that it's just mistakes? Because, you know, there's so many coincidences of a mistake was made here or a mistake was made there.
Exactly.
When do these, you know, coincidences, when do they become a pattern? Well, I think that was a long time back when we realized.
And it brings me back to one thing I've been saying. If you're out there anywhere, I don't care who you are, if you're a district attorney, if you're a law enforcement officer, I don't care where you are. If you are involved in an investigation of somebody that you have wrongly convicted once before, you better not run a flippin' shite investigation. Because if you do, you're going to run the risk of putting yourself in the situation that Tom Fallon, Norm Gahn, Ken Kratz, Calumet County Sheriff's Department, Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, and everybody else that's involved with this, you're asking for a dose of what they're getting. You're playing with fire if you want to run a shit investigation on somebody that you wrongfully convicted once already. That's what we're dealing with in this country now. So that's my friendly piece of advice to law enforcement and district attorneys across the United States.
Yeah, I mean, look, Occam's razor. It's
yeah.
I keep coming back to this. You know, some of the most important facts of this case are $36 million lawsuit. It doesn't matter what the amount of money was going to be. The money is not important. It's the embarrassment it causes, the fact that they need to get rid of this embarrassment.
Yep.
But you know,
and it was only snowballing further and further out of control.
Yeah.
You know, they knew that.
Yeah. Are the people are the public in Wisconsin really, you know, going to be prepared for the fact that it could well be that, you know, Teresa Halbach was simply sacrificed by the sheriff's department in order to get at Steve?
Maybe.
You know,
That maybe
it could be that it was Scott Taddick, or it was Bobby, or it was Ryan, or
right.
it's not somebody else.
The problem here is it could have been done by anybody, and in law enforcement could have just been opportunistic. So that's, for me, that's a probable, probable possibility. You know what I mean? And I think it's equally probable that maybe Ellie created the situation they needed. I think I think it's equally probable. So it's hard for me to say, but it's certainly something to consider.
Mm. Anyway, I better get off. I'm not going to get up too early, but as I say, I've got to try and fight for my side of the bed against this big black dog. So wish me luck.
Yeah. Well, tell the dog his bones out the window.
Aye. Have you watched the a couple of the new Netflix ones that have come out? First of all, the Don't F with Cats.
I haven't. I've seen some talk about that, but I haven't watched it yet.
I'll tell you what I have watched recently. In fact, I just finished it.
I tell you one I don't want to watch is that Cheer one that I keep seeing every time I open up Netflix. I'm just like, oh no.
Oh, what about cheerleaders?
It's about cheerleaders. There's a place here in the U.S. It's somewhere, I think, in like Iowa or something like that. Somewhere. Anyway, it's like the place where all people go to cheer because they're like the national champions for cheer there and everything. Anyway, every time I open Netflix, it's right there playing the ad, and I'm like, have I ever watched anything like that ever? Anyways,
are you feared it's going to take you back to your high school days and you're going to get your cheerleader gear out?
Oh yeah, my cheerleader gear. Yeah, I might get my wrestling singlet. I don't know. Anyway,
I doubt whether you fit into that anymore.
I wasn't a cheerleader, so.
No, I'll tell you what I've just finished watching, and it was absolutely superb, was Messiah.
Oh, no. I haven't even seen that one yet. I haven't even seen an ad for it.
Yeah, it's not a it's a Netflix original.
Okay.
In I think 10 parts, 10 like 40, 50-minute parts. Absolutely brilliant. It deals with the whole sort of idea of if Messiah came to us now, how would everybody react to it?
Yeah,
absolutely fascinating.
Interesting. Yeah,
I did
check it out.
I did enjoy it. It was it's not as I say it's I'm going to say it's not a documentary. It is a Netflix original film.
Right.
But yeah, definitely must watch this. It was, well, at times it's absolutely stunning what's going on, and of course you kind of compare and 2,000 years ago with now,
right.
The similar sort of reactions and stuff like that,
Right.
But anyway, no, do watch that. Don't F with Cats. I particularly liked it. I'm not going to give away any spoilers by saying that because of the way that in effect the Facebook groups and the armchair detectives, what they were able to do in that case was absolutely stunning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
cool. I don't know if I'm going to be watching it here anytime soon.
No,
you have to probably give me a couple weeks. But
yeah. and as I say, that because of the title, it's not good, it is terrible what this Luca Magnotta did and ended up doing, but just from the point of view that he did get caught, it dealt with.
Right. Well, that's good.
Okay. So anyway, I better say cheerio. There's been plenty of. I've got the chat on the side here. There's been plenty of chat. So yeah.
Be sure to come over to my channel. Looking on my channel tomorrow, folks. I'm looking to be going live with Ripper. We're going to be talking about a little situation at a community college campus in Kansas that folks might be interested in. If the way that Stephen was, discriminated against, or the way we all feel he was discriminated against because he was poor, and if that offends you, tune in tomorrow and watch, Ripper and I, and see what he has to say, because he's actually uncovering something right now that's pretty despicable, pretty slimy, and so we'll be talking about that tomorrow. So try and come over and see us and check that out. And also just to give people a little heads up, February 29th, coming up next month, basically. We are going to be here in Southern California. We're going to be, we're looking at probably downtown Disney, and we're going to be determining maybe one or two other locations where we're going to be going to hang out with the banner again, banner flags and everything. This time, we're going to have, obviously, me and Julie, and I believe Rhonda, and we will have the Hod will be there visiting California.
That's
Pardon me, just a second.
He's just phoning you.
We're going to be having the Hod here, and special guest who will be with us for this particular banner, Sandy Greenman will be here from Wisconsin. So, for all of you who aren't able to get to Wisconsin and maybe meet Sandy yourself, if you want to come out and show your support for the banner tour, we're going to have the Hod and Sandy there. So anybody that's interested, come on out. Let's see it.
Well, that's particularly good, because what we could really do with would be, a couple of Erekose interviews with Sandy. Well, good.
I did talk to her on Mammothon, remember? That was a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, you got to speak to loads of different people.
John Frack. Yeah. Even TikTok man talk. I dig talking to that dude. Yeah. He's cagey as hell, and he's very squirrely, and he's hard to get a hold of and talk to. But I did enjoy talking to him. He's a funny guy. So
yeah. Okay, then you know the routine by now.
Yep. All right. Okay, folks. That's bye from me.
It's goodbye from him, and if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe. What time tomorrow?
I don't know yet. Just look for tomorrow. I got to work it out with Ripper still, exactly when that's going to be. But just look over to my channel. Go over to my channel. Once I get it scheduled, you'll be able to there'll be a countdown. Once I get it scheduled.
What do you anticipate?
I'm anticipating somewhere in the morning, hopefully between 10 and noon.
All right. That's good.
Here in Pacific time. So.
Yeah, which could be as late as, if it's between 10 and noon, that's like my 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the, 6 till 8 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
Wow. As early as that.
Oh, well, I actually have days off. One.
No,
anyway.
You don't.
So, what are you going to do?
Okay. Well, if I can, if I'm finished with my practice, then I'll check in, and obviously everybody else go and have a look at that. Yeah, sounds good. Good stuff on the horizon. Keep at it, dude.
All right, buddy.
Okay. Catch you all soon. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.